Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. And we're back at it with Trading Trends Single Stock Edition. Good to be back after having about a week off here. Summer rolling along. It is Thursday, August 21st, 2025. We will recap the big movers of the day, the week, and the year. And see who is on the leaderboard. There's actually one new entry on the top three stocks list of the past year returns, and it's pretty interesting one that has caught up. And I'll just give you a teaser. It has beat out Palantir for that number 3 spot. We'll get to it a little bit later. We are going to feature a bunch of ADRs today, Chinese names in focus today. Some up, some down. We will take a look. All right, we'll do what we usually do. Share the doc, and we'll go through intraday action first with the S&P and so on, as we usually do. If you like what I got to say and my market calls, please subscribe, and give feedback, put in tickers you want to see. As we go to the doc, I said before I left last week, I said I think I expected. Well, let's just pull up the doc first, and we'll get into it about what we thought SPY was going to do. But let's get into the doc here for today. All right, so Walmart, the big mover today in the market, it dragged itself. It was down 4.5%, and it did drag most of the equities markets lower. Most were sideways to lower. IWM bucked the trend, was up 0.25%. Walmart, BILI, and Hesai ADR, big moves lower, dragging the market, while XPEV and Pdd jumped significantly higher. We will take a look at that. All right. So first, before we get into it, there we go. I was some issue. All right. Let me see if you could see. We're going to get into the panel here. Boom. All right. Should be able to see that. All right. So first off, like I said, SPY ends the day lower about 40 bips. Tesla gives back 1%. Stock still looking decent, but it's right at that crucial 320 level that we've been talking about for about a month or two now. Meta gave back 1%. Stock looks absolutely incredible. One of the leaders in the communication space, obviously. Walmart down 4.5%. We'll take a look at that chart. Stock still looks great, but that was the big mover today on their earnings reaction. United Health, this thing has continued to bounce off the floor following the news last week saying Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway has been buying, and we said, wait for this thing to instead of catching a falling knife, and go into the technicals. Really, a simple way you could have done it was last week was the first time UNH closed above a 50-day moving average, in many months. That could be a simple way for you to get in, and now it is well off the floor. So I know a couple people that got long this name, so a good trade for that there. All right, so that is it for those. All right, so real fast in terms of the intraday, today was a below average volume day. SPY with about 51 million shares. We've been typically doing about 70. So here's the intraday action. We open here at 9:30. Some volatility. I mean, it took us a little bit higher. We actually were doing pretty well at 10:30. We traded as high as basically 638, and then they sold it off all the way till 1 o'clock down to about 634. And then you saw a rebound trading right around VWAP for the session. It's actually where we ended the session at VWAP, essentially 636. As I zoom out here and we go to a 1-year chart, you see the all-time highs here were put in on August 13th, 8 days ago. We hit 646 in the SPY. You have a pretty gross bearish divergence here, though. Don't really like that. I know some people say bearish divergence, the only ones that matter are the ones that actually, are confirmed. I kind of tend to disagree. I think they catch up with you at some point. We had it on Palantir. We saw this. We said that's pretty gross. You're going to get a pretty big drop. We'll look at the chart specifically for what we had said, and guess what? Had a huge drop. It's one of the biggest losers in the past 2 weeks. We don't know why. Things get stretched, and we say that's going to be your entry. That's exactly what's happening with Palantir. To an extent, that's what happens with the market too. You had a Bollinger Band outside close here on the 13th at 646. The RSI didn't even get to 68. Don't love to see that. Quickly, we say, you can probably get to the 20-day moving average from there, which at the time was 632. And look where we are today, 636. And the low 2 days ago, the low yesterday was 633. So it all makes sense here. Now, what going forward? So for me, as I get in the chair here and I look at my bullish accumulation phase, to me, it looks like it ended on the 19th is where I'm starting my math here, as I have here in the chart. So I'm just going to put a little caret here on the 19th. So that would be right here before the, that move lower, that 1% move lower here. So the 19th, typically. So I have this going through on or around September 4th, and that should take us to about, that is mid, it's exactly 2 weeks from today. And basically what I see is hovering right around the 635 region. So a lot of chop. I do like that we're still holding 50 RSI, and we have been doing so since April 23rd. The market is still absolutely having weight, pulled to the upside. I just see, I don't want to say a bearish 2 weeks, but I do see just a little bit of the foot off the gas here for the next 2 weeks. I know there's Jackson Hole and, Powell and whatever else, but I don't see us absolutely lifting. If we do get that animal spirits and continues to lift, I see a top at about 650, but I don't see us getting further from there. So as I said, about 2 weeks, I see us chopping around here in terms of your risk levels. Right around 635 is where I see us. And in terms of a floor, in case we get, an ugly sell-off, right around that 622 to 623, 624 mark. So that is about, 12 points or 2% to the downside, and about upside 2%. So I would sell, you could sell strangles here. Volatility isn't exactly ripping, but I do really see us being, you can almost see it here, just being us in a long rectangle for, a couple, maybe 2, maybe 3 weeks right here. I know we had said all-time highs coming, and that's, like I said, nothing changed that. That's more so for September, potentially in terms of the charts, maybe mid to late September for new all-time highs to get to that 650. So that's what I'm seeing here. So a lot of mix and chop for the next 2 weeks. Let's see if that's what's showing up as well in the single stocks. And we're going to feature some big movers today from all over the globe. A lot of ADRs today that move big. So without further ado, let's get into them. Number one, we'll start with the biggest leaders of the day. XPEV, this one, look at this big candle, up 12% today. A huge candle here is XPEV. This is an ADR. This is like the Tesla of China. The market cap on this now is about $20 billion. These guys do make money, though, $7 billion in revenues. It's the biggest smart EV maker in the People's Republic of China. Here is the candle here. The 52-week high is back from March at $27. A nice, beautiful rising 200-day moving average. Not one close under the 200-day since September, so almost a year. Wow, give that the benefit of the doubt. Looks absolutely great. I'd rather just give this like about a week or so to try to mean revert towards. I don't want to overpay with this here. There's a lot of bunching with these moving averages. Obviously, a lot of momentum going higher, but I would try and give this a week or so to see if you can get in around that 1990 level. This is let me see. This is an earnings reaction. I assume, it looks like it. Yeah, an earnings reaction. So a big move here. I personally would not want to chase and get in above this one, above $20. So if you can get 10% back, I like that for a much better entry here. A nice, if you're a breakout trader though, that is a nice, 5-month breakout here. So 2 different ways to play it. We'll see how this continues to go. Also, we are at 70 RSI. Has only done that, 2 times since March. So personally, wouldn't chase it here, but animal spirits continue to lift this ADR higher. Number 2 is PDD. This one moved, and this is also an ADR. This one not as much as high as XPEV. This is up 4% today. This is broadline retail. In Asia, this is a $165 billion name, much bigger at $55 billion revenue. These guys are profitable. Nice candle. A different chart though, as you can see the 200 moving average. These guys are just trying to etch a recovery, really more so since just July here, with their 52-week low coming from October at $156. The 200-day going lower just by a bit. There's your support at 109. I also wouldn't chase this here. To me, this might have a little bit of a surge to go to about, right around this one tops 125. So I don't really like chasing for $2. But more realistically, the next 2 weeks, I see this going to about 115. And I do think that 200-day moving average of 109.5 holds. So, decent, impressive trading for this one since mid-July, trying to etch its recovery. I personally would not chase this here. I'm just going to see this probably emblematic of the entire overall market. Wouldn't chase this on a lot of chop for the next 2 weeks is what my updated forecast is. But personally, I see this probably $2 upside short term and much more likely, $13 downside. So I don't like taking those trades. And the next one, a big move higher, is Hewlett Packard Enterprise. This one up a big 3.5%. That's big for this name. 52-week high for Hewlett Packard back in January at 24.66. Here we are, 21.84 after an up 3.5, almost 4% day. A nice move here ever since really that gap up on June 30th, holding its 200 moving average. Flat line right there at 1944. Let's see what trades, if any, stand out here on Hewlett Packard. These guys' market cap on this is 28 billion on 32 billion revenue, almost like a balance sheet trap. Yeah, I don't personally. This might have again a couple, like a day or two of try to get to 22 even, so literally 1% of upside. But beyond that, I still see this probably in 2 weeks' time being around 2080, 2090, around there. So don't love that either. 1% up and then 5% downside. But overall, impressive trading in this name. Honestly, Hewlett Packard come off the lows in April. Really impressive trading, higher than lower since mid-April, since it's 15 handle. A slower-ish mover, but decent recovery here. Personally wouldn't chase it here. So pretty interesting moves from the leaders of the day. Let's see if there's any trades in the losers. We talked about this to open up the show. Walmart dragged markets lower. Walmart with a lot of trading today. Walmart, of course, we obviously all know it, a almost $1 trillion company. So wrap your mind around that. $820 billion on $685 billion revenue. Absolutely stupendous. This one, so they took it out back a little bit today. Again, these guys are coming off their all-time highs, was struck on Valentine's Day at 105. Beautiful chart. The 200-day just got scary, in terms of the trading here with the SPY US 52-week lows back in April, but a beautiful recovery, honestly, all year. This almost looks like a real, tech type name in this environment, like they're having AI plays. Beautiful looking chart. To me personally, maybe give this another. It's interesting to me when you have flushes like this. The low today was 96.95 and the high was 103. View up on the day was 99. They took it below that. And you're also, sub 50 RSI trading for the first time since mid-late July. It's possible it takes another day or two and it gets maybe as low as 96, but I do think that 200-day will hold. They were speaking about rising costs, and with tariffs and everything else, and maybe slightly more cautious outlook, and that's what made folks take it lower. But to me, this is still a very good looking stock. I think it may get as ugly as 96, but to be honest, I don't think it gets much worse than that. And more than likely in 2 weeks' time, this is around 102 to 103. So I like this one. You might have another day or two, like I said, to the downside. But there's, if you want to sell the 94 puts, I'm not so certain how much they will pay you. Check the liquidity on that. But I don't think that is at risk. You probably get paid for that, depending on, going 2 weeks out and such. I like that. Also, another one. I really don't want to chase calls in this environment when I'm having every chart look at it and then it's saying, it's going sideways. I'd rather sell bottoms. So to me, I would probably sell the 94 puts, maybe the 95s, and see what that pays for Walmart. But this one looks like it's setting up. This one, you can look at the candles too. The exuberance was getting kind of exhausted around April. So August 6th, up 4% day, big. And then a couple of days later, August 8th, still has momentum up 60. You see the candle start get smaller. And then on the 13th, at 2.5% lower. And then today, the earnings, I don't want to call it a plunge, but it's down 4.5%. I think this one's setting up. And you're probably going to be higher in 2 to 3 weeks' time. Not significantly higher, but I do think it gets that 102 handle again where you were this morning. All right. A big mover lower also was BILI, B-I-L-I, the ADR. This one dropped 6%. Here's the chart for this one. Their highs were back in October at nearly $32. And you see what happens here. This name has not been able to get above $26 ever since October. So, differing momentum for this. For these guys, these are online entertainment for China. It's a $10.5 billion company in market cap terms on $4 billion revenue. So they do make money. Don't want to chase this either. I think it may, to me, this looks like this was the top, kind of like what we were saying with Walmart on the 8th. This looks like this put in its top right around 25.5, and that was the move lower. I was going to say maybe it has another day or two to try to get to that 25.60, 25.70, but I don't think that's the case. I think much more likely as this is at Looking at moving averages and the momentum, probably, the 200 days just flatlined with just barely inching, and the RSI trains above 50. Probably, honestly, a whole lot of nothing. Overall, lower over the next 2 weeks, but not like a seismic move. It's probably hugging 23 half, to be honest. So, a lot of chop, and probably overall ends 1% lower from where we are here. But overall, I would say that this momentum that started today, this down 6% move, continues with chop, overall lower in 2 weeks. And then next one is another ADR, Hesai group, down 9.5%, a big move lower. This had just very recent strong momentum, taking it to 52-week highs just 3 days ago to $28 nearly, and now boom, down 9.5%. This is an automobile company. They do LiDAR. I know a lot of companies in this space, actually. $3.5 billion, so a little bit smaller market cap. They make $340 million revenue, so not massive. But they do 3D light detection and LiDAR solutions in China, Europe, and North America, mainly out of China, though, obviously. I do not love this chart for the next 2 weeks. This looks like it wants to go lower to just about 22 even. So it did a lot of the work today, but I see a little bit more downside over the next 2 weeks. Also interesting to note, the low is 22.80 today. They didn't take it nearly as high as the middle of the bar, which is at least a simple, 50% retracement. What I would like to see, it closed near the lower half. So like I said, more likely continued weakness for the next 2 weeks in this name, and then that'll be your setup. So I'm giving setups on what the next 2 week holds, and overall, some of the names are winners, like a Walmart. This one is a winner. Just personally wouldn't chase him in the next 2 weeks. Woo! All right, next, top 3 gainers the past 5 days. Some are new to me. This is Dayforce. Is this a real stock? Here we go. So Dayforce is the best stock in the entire market with my parameters over $20 and over at least 5 million shares of volume daily. Dayforce is a professional services company. They are human capital management. Oh, give me a break. Human capital management software company. They're $11 billion on $2 billion revenue. So these guys make money. Dayforce. I really haven't. Honestly, I've heard of Monday.com and stuff like this. Dayforce, I'm not super familiar with, but hey, let's look at the chart. More importantly, so this thing's been in purgatory since February, and now literally just 3 days ago, it is now back. This thing had to move from 53 to 66. These guys reported earnings on August the 6th. Interesting. So earnings were back here, and then whatever happened recently, I'm not going to dig into the news because I don't really care all that much, but it has taken the stock above its 200-day moving average. So this has done a lot and a little. To me, I have more bullishness for the next week, but my target was about 60, right around 64. So here it's at 69. In terms of the next level of chop, if this wants to continue, I think it possibly does. It's going to have to do in this. It's going to have to deal in this region, the 73. And I think that's the next stop. Also, the highest the candle went today was 69.26, and it's essentially where they closed at the low, 67.5. This looks like they were the buyers were almost upset that the bell rang, and this possibly wants to go to $73 over the next week. Dayforce is the number one stock over the past 5 days, averaging almost 6% on today. Today, doing less than that, up 2.33%, but very, very crazy looking stock. From August 11th, being oversold like a slingshot. Had a 28 RSI. Stock had a $50 VWAP that day, basically where it closed as well. And now we're looking at $69. So a crazy mover. Do with it what you will. I think overall more bullishness, potentially for more dollars upside. Nextracker. This thing's up 19% over the past 5 days, on average of 4% a day. Today, reversing the trend, down 3%. This is coming off of highs on August 19th, hit $70, and boom, just like that, down 10%. NXT, this is not the wrestling WWE faction offshoot on one of the 9 million shows that they have. This is the electrical equipment name, $10 billion on $3 billion revenue. This is a solar tracker. We are going to look at some solar names. They are in vogue again. This reminds me of the chart we just saw. I think a little bit more bullishness for a couple of more days, and my target is around 66. So to me, messy-ish chart in terms of if you want to play this for the next 2 weeks when the overall market is probably going to give back some. I think this probably heads higher, but this is a messier trade in my book. Overall, though, a very nice 5 days. And this next name right on its tail, SEDG. We said if the solar names were going to come back, SEDG was going to be a great way to play it. SEDG is your third best stock in the entire market this past week, up almost 4% a day. It's up 18% on the week. Today, giving back 6%. So today, some solars gave back hard, but they've had, while I was out the past 5 days, it's had a really, really stellar week. Again, this thing was doing nothing, even after earnings. This thing was doing nothing, stuck at 25 bucks, honestly, from July 29th until August 14th. So you had about 2 straight weeks of, even after earnings, pre and post earnings, you had opportunities to get into this name. And then finally it popped. And it's crazy. It went to a 52-week high, did SEDG. That's a simple, breakout system. If you wanted to buy it on August 18th at $33, that was the absolute high. But here now, what is the forecast? You have a nice basing here in the 200-day moving average. Okay, remember the 52-week low, it preceded the SPY lows. This was the 52-week low for SEDG came on right on Thanksgiving week at $10, and now here we are. We've tripled it, and this is why people play trash names, because they can really slingshot to the upside, kind of the fat person on a trampoline idea. I personally would not chase SEDG right here. To me, this looks like, again, I've seen this pattern in a lot of the charts here, where the candles start to get thinner and thinner. The animal spirits start to go, south, and it doesn't mean the trend is over by any means, but there will be a reversion and a digestion of the gains preceding. That's all. So I don't want to chase this. To me, it looks like 2 weeks. I want to step out, and this looks to me, honestly, this is probably going to be at $27 in about 2 weeks, so which is 10% lower from here. So personally, don't want to chase it, but SEDG, an absolute stellar week, up 18% in the past 5 days. Those are your 3 big movers higher. If you were long Dayforce, Nextracker, or SEDG, congratulations. You've absolutely been crushing it. Let's look at the losers. If you've been short these, congrats. If you've been long, yikes, you've been getting smoked. All right, so Nano Nuclear Energy, the worst stock in the market through my parameters, down 17% or an average of 3% a day. These guys hit their highs back in January at $48. This is a crazy moving stock, of course. Let me give you some fundamentals on it in terms of at least market cap size. This is also an electrical equipment name, nuclear energy company. They develop portable clean energy solutions. They're a $1 billion name. I barely let this slip through the parameters. This is as small as we get. This is almost like a micro cap, very, very small. Why it's especially interesting of note here is it's obviously got a stupendous, great looking chart. And look at this, a tag of the 200 moving average and really, really ugly RSI trading under 40 RSI, and it hasn't done that since April when it was underneath its 200-day moving average, which it's done today. So now what is the play on this? It's been having the worst stock week of all, down 17% or an average of 3% a day. Today, just digesting. I think this is exactly what you want to see. Off the earnings, it came down to its 200-day moving average. In case you can't see that, the 200 days at 29.26, so it's off by 11 cents. I think this is going to base right here, right around this. It possibly goes, to $28. There's volatility in this. It is, like I said, a borderline microcap, so maybe there's some more gives. I've seen some big red candles here, and today it closed nearly on the, very close to the lows. It didn't really have a lot of lift today, so it's possible that there's more some zig and some zags, but I do see this maybe going as low as, $27 to $28, which is, 70% from here on a, cheaply, $29 stock. But then overall, in the next 2 weeks or so, I do see this trying to make a move to about $33. So let these moves digest a little bit. I want to see the RSI at least pick up. I don't know if it's going to do everything back in a day or two. It's going to be a longer chop. But in terms of like what I said with the market, and this is absolutely risk on, I don't think they're going to flood to this immediately. So give this some time. I think your purchase entry point is probably honestly closer to maybe $27, $28. And then I think it actually looks decent if you have a risk profile. Hopefully it comes closer in about 2 weeks when it's at that price. All right. Next one, this is a major cap stock, Applied Materials. This is not a $1 billion name. This is a massive name, down 15%, an average of 3% a day. Today was down 70 bips. AMAT, we know as the semiconductor company, They do semiconductor systems, applied global services, and display. Massive company, $130 billion, so not small. I think this, has not had a good week, down 15%. I think it's not done. I think it continues to go just a little bit lower. I don't think the reaction, look at the chart. This is pretty simple, honestly. Here's the earnings reaction. Here's earnings, okay? And then there's the next day down 14%. And you see the animal spirits, any kind of bullishness has not picked up yet. They're still selling it. It's not big, but they're still selling it lower. It's almost in no man's land trying to have that 158 hold. And now we've had into oversold. Just don't love that. Not giving you warm fuzzies. I don't say they dump it like it was United Healthcare a couple of months ago, but you're getting some volatility expansion here. This looks like I'm just not shocked if over the next week or so, as markets go sideways, I don't think they're going to pile into this name. And I think it goes potentially just a little bit lower, just a little bit towards a 154. And then I honestly still wouldn't touch it because I think the ensuing rally would take it to about this 170, a 200-day moving average, and then frustration, and then it rolls over. So not, healthy trading for me in AMAT. And then, of course, what everyone wants to look at. Oh, I got a question here. Has natural gas bottomed? We'll take a look. What's up, Chris? I'll take a look. Something else people want to look at too. I'll look at that at the very end. Palantir, the third worst stock. I want to point this out. I don't love tapping myself on the shoulder, but we looked at this here. This one was a little bit of a confusing one. The all-time high for Palantir was August 12th at 190. Okay, it was 9 days ago. When it was over here, let me pull this up. I want to pull up my notes. Let me pull up my notes. And what I said was, let me see. It was earnings. It was right before we went away. All right. It was probably closer to here, August 1st and such. I just didn't love it. It didn't really reach that 70 RSI. And then here, finally, you get the all-time high. You have a 75 RSI. It's not technically the highest, but from false moves, come fast moves. And then it gets all the way down to its 20-day moving average. And now look at it. And look at this. Look at the bottom candle right here. Yes, you did go under 50 RSI trading for the first time. Folks are actually saying, you know what? I'll dish you out. I'll offer some Palantir more than bidding it up. That hasn't happened in this fashion since April, when SPY had its 52-week lows and had a lower Bollinger Band close. Here we had an upper Bollinger Band close and now a tap of the lower Bollinger Band. I know it sounds crazy. All to be meaning, look, Palantir was up 10 bips today. It's not a lot, but this thing has been sold every day since the 13th, the day after the all-time highs. A lot of folks, I think, said, oh, this is too good to be true. It's at 190. Look at the 200-day moving average, for goodness sakes, at 106. So now what happens? Don't overthink it here. You're getting your setup. The overall market, as I said, is going to be likely a little bit messy, so I don't think you have to chase anything per se. But right here, in terms of levels, I don't think you're going to get that lucky. I would love to have an opportunity to buy this at 106, but I don't think you're that lucky. Yeah, I mean, 145. Really, if you were yesterday and it got to 142, yeah, anything 145 is just, I think you almost call it like a misprice or an arbitrage. That was just really, really, really great pricing. Right here, I still love anything, honestly, under. You're just going to have to be patient because the overall market, like I said, with the chop it's having, I love entries here under 168. I'll fast forward a second. This is the fourth best stock of the year. So, of course, I'm going to give an all-star, an MVP, a bad game, a bad series. I don't really care. Honestly, I give this a long leash. Even the sub 50 RSI trading is forgivable for this coming off of these types of periods. It's not getting oversold. Then you'd see a sentiment, a regime change. It's not here. All you're seeing is 40 points come off of the stock. So I think this is going to base in terms of your risk levels of how low can it go. Honestly, I think it showed you right there. I don't think this goes below 144. Yes, it went 142 yesterday. If you want to be, cute and you say that, I think that was a little. Look at that wick. It should have never even been there. Look at that hammer. I like the setup. That in technicians speak, that is a hammer. Someone put that down. Thor's hammer, for example. That's where it comes from, sort of. Looks like they want to take this higher. I think it's going to be messy, but I do think this wants to get to 165 to 168 over 2-ish to 3 weeks. That's 13 points away. What is that, 8%? You can sell puts. That would probably pay very handsomely. That's probably more of the environment I'd like to be in a sideways chop market. You can buy call spreads, but I wouldn't chase this here although obviously you are getting it cheap on a superstar like Palantir. All right. Top 3 trades of the past 5 days. If you've been long Dayforce, Nextracker, and long SEDG, you've absolutely been crushing it. Those are all up at least 18% over the past 5 days. Dayforce up 29%. All right. I'll get to you, Chris, at the end, but this is one of my favorite parts. Top 3 trades of the past 52 weeks with the actual parameters. I'm not going to do Rigetti or no offense to like wave computing. These things are very... I'm just not going to look at them. You know, some are priced $13 and they only have volume, you know, the past couple of months. I look for consistency here. Your number one, true, best stock in the market year over year is OKLO. That's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's OKLO. It's up. Just sit down for this if you're standing up. 858% year over year. That is your year over year leader. It's OKLO. To put numbers, because that's so mind blowing. That means last September, it was $5, and now we are at $67, and that's where you get the 8-9 bagger from. These guys hit their highs on August 6th at $85. This was when we had also said the bearish divergence was gross. Here is the price, all-time high, 86, but the RSI got to 67. Immediately right there, you should get some spidey senses saying this is probably imminent, going to head to $70, and it did. I like this hammer. It's got smaller than the one we just saw featured in Palantir, but the buyer stood up for this thing just the same yesterday. It was up 1.8% today, up almost 1%. I like the hammer there, kind of put in that low at $61. I think this is setting up. We've recommended this name on the show, and I'm happy to and proud to recommend the best stock in the overall entire market year over year. Never once oversold. Apologies. Last year it was in September when it was a 5 handle. Now we're looking at $67. Again, this is an electric utility company. They do advanced fission power plants, nuclear, and the market cap on this is $10 billion. They are pre-revenue. They have 0 revenue, so it's absolutely risk on. And the fact that it is your year-over-year leader in percentage tells you it is a risk on environment. Especially we're talking about Bitcoin being the leader and stuff like that. In the ETF show, I would tell my enemy to be in cash. You should invest and over-invest. It may sound irresponsible, but we're at highs, bro. All right, so right here, I love this. OKLO is setting up. Again, the market is zigging and zagging, I believe, for the next 2 weeks. Up 2%, down 2%. I think this is going to potentially I think it's going to base I mean, this thing's so volatile. It could, if the market, has a bad day and it wakes up, this thing could get to $57 with vol expansion. So this thing has volatility run all over it. But the name, is a winner. I think in 2 weeks, this thing is at $70. So it's not a huge win right here with the top back in early August. But I think it's setting up. I wouldn't do call spreads right here because you're going to bleed theta. But if you want to buy the stock, I like entries under $70. I think overall into September, it will reward you. This is OKLO. Okay, this is an absolute superstar. Your year-over-year winner, up 858%. Best stock in the entire U.S. stock market, ADRs included. Number 2 is Rocket Lab. This is quite a touch back in terms of gains. This is Rocket Lab up 400, just a shy 497%. So call it 500%. We're specific on the show, and what that means in terms of numbers was last September. This was also a 5 handle, and this thing rocketed all the way to $53. So amazing growth. Not as much, into the 60s, 70s like OKLO, but nevertheless, absolute massive gainer, 500%. Overbought, beautiful bullish, confirmation there. And then you had an earnings reaction, and now what's happening? It's trading all the way down to the 50-day moving average. When I see, year-over-year leader, this is number 2. I want to, try to get into this. I'm seeing, again, a similar hammer. I didn't, obviously we saw this in the market as well. That to me is bullish on these names. Palantir, Rocket Lab, OKLO, and now, like I said, Rocket Lab here, all had the same candles yesterday. A big move lower, and then end up closing out up, 0.5% or more. It's very interesting. I'd like to see the buyer step in. This thing's going higher, I believe, over the next 2 weeks. This looks like, to me, this wants to get to about $43. So curb your enthusiasm for all these names for the very short term. But again, if the market's going to zig and zag, and this is going to, etch, what is that, $3, $2.50 higher, that's better, 4 or 5%-ish. That's better than nothing. And these are year-over-year leaders. Just rotation also happening. It's not a killer of a bull market. It's really quite an extender and what you need. Also, stochastic momentum mix. This is bottoming really where it has back here. It could get, just like I said, a touch lower, but I do like the signs that this has put in yesterday, coming off the lows of 38.25, and now it's risen. It went as high as 41.86 today, and they closed it near there. I think this has a nice 2 weeks, and I think this is headed to about $44. So, this thing will continue to add. Rocket Lab, your second best stock year over year. And number 3, and this is a new entry. We have not featured this in quite a while because it's been to Palantir. Number 3, it was OKLO, Rocket Lab, and it had been Ionc. It had been Palantir. We have a new entry, and it is Robinhood coming to save the little man. It is Robinhood up 428%. So it's coming for Rocket Lab. This is not a nuclear name. This is degenerates on their phone. Degenerates to the tune of a $95 billion market cap. These guys have much less assets, Robinhood, than Schwab. And yeah, I believe they have a much larger market cap. So it's crazy. But, this is tech and finance, obviously, in one portal, if you will, on $4 billion revenue. So quite a lofty PE. This is the all-time high for Robinhood. August 12th, I hit a 118. The RSI there, it got to 68. And then immediately, just really quickly, you can almost expect that to get to a 50-day moving average. That's pretty much what happened. This thing yesterday went to $99 on the low, and now a recovery. Robinhood, the third best stock. So it's OKLO, which is doing its thing, quantum computing, Rocket Lab, and then Robinhood, which, people are buying GameStop on their phones 4 years ago, and we're a locked home. Also, nice rotation into this. You see, this is still above 50 RSI trading since April. So really no momentum lost in this. All I will say is the next 2 weeks I don't like for this name. I think you'll get an opportunity to enter this. In terms of levels, how low does it go? Where does it live? I think it's very possibly range bound. I'm going to give you a big range, though, because it's a fat stock. Wow, that's crazy. 200-day moving average on this is 59. So hit 2x, and it makes sense that the algos would sell it right there. You don't want to get that extended away from a 10-month consensus of what the stock is, and you're trading 2x that today. But beautiful stock, obviously. Look at this, not oversold, not even once this entire year. This thing really started to ascend in October when it began this periods of weeks and weeks of overbought. This thing getting in line, honestly, from May to July, just a stair step all the way, stairway to heaven, Led Zeppelin style. Don't love this one, like I said, for the next 2 weeks. I don't think the absolute bottom falls out, but they might rotate out of this for a little bit as it tries to visit, maybe if we have a sell-off in the market, maybe it gets to, I just wouldn't be shocked if it gets to 97. I know it seems drastic, but the chart's telling me maybe it wants to go there. We'll see in terms of lower. And in terms of higher, I don't think this is going to, hit its head and go above 115 anytime soon. So you can sell those strangles. It is a high vol name. Other trades, I don't like this one for the next 2 weeks. I think when that 2 weeks is up, then I do think you'll want to get involved. All right, so your best 3 stocks in the market: OKLO, Rocket Lab, and Robinhood. If you've been riding those since last summer through today, you're absolutely crushing it. Just close your computer, get a pina colada, go to the beach. You killed it. All right. As natural gas bottomed, what's up, Chris? I'm going to do this through UNG as I usually do. Apologies. I know you probably look at the futures. We do UNG for simplicity and just for option spreads. So I'm going to do through here. I know it is not, full disclosure, the best proxy in terms of the actual natural gas commodity. But let's analyze this as a chart either way. So nat gas today up 2%. Nat gas peaked in March at 24.33. We have not looked at this even in a while on the ETF show. And now 52-week low, and I guess that's why you're asking, yesterday for nat gas, $12. I said, as beta picks up, they were going to try to get out of this thing and ask questions later. And now the 200 moving average is really it's going down almost a penny a day. It's stuck over here at 1676, and it hasn't been there since the end of June. Yikes. So now what? Dude, Don't love this. I think it probably tries to base, this week with that 12 handle, and you do get a bit of a dead cat bounce to about 13. But then I see it lower, Chris, because of the overall, chase that's going to continue with SPY overall all-time highs into September. So I don't like this trade. For me, the trend staying in place. If this thing's going to continue to close this week, I don't want to rotate into that just yet. That's kind of like United Healthcare in May. Let someone else catch that. So until this, honestly, starts really not dropping as precipitously as it has, like the next bounce on this is going to get you to about 1304. What is that? 75 cents. So it might have, up 2 weeks, but overall, I don't like it after that. So has natural gas bottomed? I can't say it has. Probably maybe for these 2 weeks, yeah, but then I wouldn't be shocked at all if you get new lows for this guy with 11 handle in September. Probably not what you wanted to hear, but it is what the charts are saying. All right, to me. Anyway, all right, I will. Thanks for that. I will hope to see you at a CMT event soon, Chris, and all if you're in the New York area. I actually think I might be presenting at one, hopefully. So get a drink and we can do this live. Whoa, we went over today, 41 minutes, Yahtzee. We will see you tomorrow for the ETF wrap-up edition. Peace.